South African drill, what we're trying to work on here is developing our sprint speed, or actually learning to run with the discus. And the way it was originally presented to me was you hold the discus out in front of you, you run along or jog along, and as you become more familiar with it, you'll even be able to sprint along with it. Then you drive off your left leg, keeping the discus in front of you. You land with both feet, and you still have your eye on the discus, which is in front of you at this time. So now you're going to be able to pull it through actually 360 degrees. So the idea is you get the feel for a 360-degree pull on the discus. Float sting is a drill we do to help develop our rhythm. In the discus throw, if you can think of it as a dance and put it to numbers like 1, 2, 3, you'll find that your throwing will improve. Now in the float sting drill, what she's doing is what we're doing is we're driving off the left leg, landing with both feet at the same time, moving into the next position where you drive off the left leg again, land with both feet at the same time, and then in the third phase, you drive off the left leg and land with both feet together, and then you drive off the right. Drive with the left, drive with the left, drive with the left, drive with the right. Once again, getting back to the idea of pistons, where you've got your left leg as a piston and your right leg as a piston, and you develop a rhythm so that you're able to do 3 of these continuously. And in the process of doing that, you will develop rhythm. When I had problems with my technique, I found that sometimes by going through the movement backwards, it gave me the seeds to the solution of what I was looking for. So for example, the way I developed the left leg drive out of the back and trying to keep it low to the ground, and all of that evolved from the fact of doing the movement backwards. So here we have Karen doing the movement backwards, and she does it quite well. So sometimes, as I said, when you've got problems doing it frontwards or forwards, you'll find that when you have to take the time to analyze what you're doing in order to hit the positions to do it backwards, that this will teach you or show you some of the areas that you need to work on when you do it forwards. Let's start with a stance. We put in the center line. Now I prefer a stance where you straddle the center line, like so. Left foot, right foot. Now there are those that prefer to put their left foot right on the center and their right foot a little farther over. And when they pivot and drive, they feel they develop linear power right down this line. However, I find it's most comfortable to straddle the line and develop what I call a backward 7. Power moves from the right side to the left side, and then down through the center of the ring and to a point over here. So in essence, we are developing linear power along a line, but it's not the line that some other people would propose. So this is where we get the backward 7. Your weight, in essence, when we start, is on the left side, and we keep it there. And all we have to do is pivot 360 on this foot and then drive to the center. Now let's talk about the action of what the right foot does and what the left foot does. Now if you watch the motion of the right foot, there are people that advocate a wide sweep of the right foot. Now this is fine. The right foot sweeps out, goes outside the ring, comes in, goes to the center, and does a smaller circle and continues through. Now this idea is called big circle, little circle. You let the foot sweep out wide. It goes out wide. That's the big circle part. As it comes into the center, it accelerates. Now, many people have a problem right here because their right foot stops. So you have to have a pattern that allows this right foot to continue. It sweeps out, comes in, does the little circle part, but very fast, and accelerates. And the end of the throw, actually, with the right foot is when it reverses and ends up over here. Now, the action of the left foot is going to be more or less linear. Whereas the right foot is big circle, little circle, the left foot is a straight line. It goes from this point to that point. And you'll notice that it probably makes a gentle arc. But during the phase, it drives out of the back, and it makes a nice pattern here. Therefore, we have a nice linear approach right there, like that.
What is a typical workout routine?
Here's my typical workout routine. It's called the 4-step approach. The first thing I do is 12 scales from the front of the ring. Then I do step and turn, 12, the South African from the back of the ring where I'm trying to develop my sprint ability. And then on a minimum day, I'll do at least 20 full turns. Now this isn't necessarily always hard. Sometimes you're throwing more for technique. But usually on a very heavy day, it will be closer to 80 full turns. Now when I do my workout, I also throw with 4 discuses. In some school situations, you're lucky if you have one, and you generally have to wait 4, 5, or 6, or 10 minutes before you get into the ring for each throw. Now, some of the basic things we want to remember is that everybody should have a notebook. All the real serious throwers that I know, whether it be in weightlifting, track and field, shot put, discus throw, they all have a notebook, and they keep a diary of their workouts in terms of number of throws, how far they were, key points that they were working on that day. And that also carries over into weightlifting, where they keep track of all their lifts. So, and the next basic is 10,000 throws a year. I remember the world record holder came to town when I lived in Sacramento, and I was a 160-footer, and his name was Danik from Czechoslovakia. And I said, "What's the secret to throwing far, Ludwig?" And through an interpreter, I expected something profound. He said, "You must do 10,000 throws a year." So if you break that down and you're training 10 months of the year, that's 1,000 throws a month. And if you break that down, that's about 250 throws a week. So you can see that even on his plan, you've got to do at least 50 throws, and I would say 50 full turns a day. And one of the keys that helped me when I was a beginning thrower was there were 5 other throwers on my team. I went out and threw the discuses back, shagged them. And for every 1 throw they were getting, I was getting 4 or 5, depending on how many people were out there. But while I was shagging, I'd practice my scales, I'd go through my step and turn, I'd do my South African, and I could practice all those things because you don't always need a ring. It's amazing how, if you go to a school or something, it's as if everybody must be in the ring to practice the discus. In essence, you don't have to be. You can practice from this dirt area, or you can practice from an asphalt area.
Could you explain the 3 basic principles of physics?
Not so long ago, we attended the elite throwers attended a clinic in which the Olympic Committee presented us with a book this thick to explain the discus. And what it boiled down to were 3 principles of physics. Now, the first one is the height of release. That is basically related to how tall you are, how high your shoulders are, and the fact that the discus should be released at the shoulder height. The second one is the angle of release on your discus. And what they tell us is that the long throws are at approximately 37 degrees. Now, how you figure that out is beyond me, unless you go out there with a little protractor or something. But the way you get feedback on that is if the throw goes out and looks like a line drive, that's probably what you want, as opposed to something that sort of floats out. And the third thing is velocity. Velocity of release. One that's going the fastest is going to go the farthest. So theoretically, if you've got one person 6 foot tall, another one 6'4", and they both have the same velocity, the one who's taller is going to throw farther. But there are some techniques that we can develop, learning how to sprint with the discus, learning how to snap the discus, and things of that nature that can improve your velocity here.
I have a problem fouling a lot. How do I prevent this?
All right, fouling, it was a common problem of beginning throwers, because when they're in the ring, they don't concentrate on staying in the ring. And as a consequence, many times you'll have an entire practice session where you'll take throw after throw after throw after throw and foul. So you don't have the habit of staying in the ring. And the way you acquire that habit is during a practice session, you make sure that you're concentrating on staying in the ring. We have a concept called the Tower of Power, no foul hour. So if your practice is from 3 to 4, during that time you sort of make a vow to yourself, or if you've got your coach out there watching, they make a note of how you're doing in terms of fouls. So the key is during that time you say, I'm not going to foul all my throws, or I'm going to stay in the ring, because all fouling is a bad habit in essence. I'll give you a little story. Brian Oldfield's a notorious fouler, and Brian and I used to live together. and Brian threw a world record of 75 feet, and he had a warm-up throw of 84 feet. And I said, Brian, it's only because you don't practice staying in the ring. You could actually have a fair 84-foot throw. And Brian said, I'm going to warm up at 90, and then I'll stay in at 84, was how he approached it.
What is the focal point and how would you use it?
I'll show you first where the focal point is. If you're starting at the back of the ring here, here's your center line. As you pivot out of the back and drive, remember we've got our 7 here. As you drive, you want to pick up a focal point that is approximately, if this is 12 o'clock up here, your focal point is something that is over in this area. Now, and many times, we're throwing in a caged area. One of the posts acts as a focal point for us. Sometimes you'll have a tree in the distance, or it can be near. And what this allows you to do is, as you drive, you see the focal point. The discus will also move in the direction of the focal point. You will be able to see the discus and the focal point at the same time. When that happens, your left foot should be down. So by using the focal point, it helps you to get the maximum pull on the discus. As you're driving through, your left leg is driving and your right arm is driving. And they both should land simultaneously. The left leg lands in the front of the ring and the discus moves in line with your focal point. So at that point, you should have real good double support. Both feet are down. And at that point, you can explode from your power position.
How can I get 10 more feet out of my throws?
This comes under the heading of goal setting. Now, that great psychologist Henry Ford once said, those people who believe they can and those people who believe they can't are both right. So the key is, and the one that I have found that works, the easiest way for me to remember it is to say, yard by yard it's hard, but inch by inch it's a cinch. Now what that means is, wherever you are, let's say you're a 150-footer. Every 150-footer wants to be a 160-footer or a 200-footer. The question you have to ask yourself is, when am I going to be a 151-footer? By taking that 10-foot goal and breaking it down into smaller and smaller increments and making a deadline for yourself. So you say, listen, today I'm throwing 150, I've had my little towel out there, and today I want to throw 1 inch past it. You will find that by going 100% to reach a 1 inch goal, that you will achieve your goal much sooner and quicker. I have never seen anybody who is trying to get 10 more feet who actually achieved it, but I have seen many people who have tried to get 1 more foot or 1 more inch that have jumped up 10 feet. The key is to focus in on that goal, on the most realistic goal for you for that day. And that varies obviously from day to day, because some days are better than others. But if you're able to focus in on what you can actually take care of today, you will find that you'll get that 10 feet much quicker. These drills and techniques have worked for me, and if you practice them faithfully, they'll work for you. Good luck on your next PR.